When dealing with real estate transactions, environmental issues can play a significant role. Factors like hidden contamination, flood exposure, and disclosure risks aren't just minor details. They can actually impact the property's value, the financing options available, the timing of the deal, and even the terms before you finalize the closing. Understanding these elements is crucial because they can affect everything from the cost to the legal responsibilities involved in the transaction. So being aware of these risks early on helps you make more informed decisions and potentially avoid costly surprises down the line. Environmental issues play a critical role in real estate transactions, and it's important to understand why they matter. These issues can completely reshape a deal, sometimes in unexpected ways. Contamination, flood exposure, and building-related hazards aren't just minor concerns. They can significantly reduce the property's value, cause delays in closing, and lead to more in-depth investigations. These environmental factors also have a ripple effect on financing, insurance, and legal disclosure requirements. What might have started as a straightforward sale can quickly become a more complex, higher-risk negotiation. One key point to remember is that these risks often come to light before the deal even closes. During inspections, lenders and insurers start asking tougher questions, which can reveal environmental concerns that need addressing. This is why understanding how environmental issues impact your transaction is essential for managing risk and avoiding surprises down the line. Now, let's talk about some key environmental hazards commonly found in properties that can significantly impact their value, safety, financing, and even the terms of closing. There are 5 main issues to be aware of. First, mold, which results from moisture-driven damage and can cause serious health problems and structural issues. Next is asbestos, a legacy building material that poses health risks if disturbed. Third, lead-based paint, especially in homes built before 1978, presents significant lead exposure risks. Fourth, radon, an invisible gas, can accumulate indoors and increase the risk of lung cancer. Finally, soil contamination, often due to past industrial use, can affect the safety of the property. These hazards are frequently uncovered during inspections, testing, or environmental due diligence, so it's crucial to identify and address them early in the process. Understanding these issues helps protect investments and ensures safer transactions. So when we talk about soil and groundwater contamination, it's important to understand how these issues can impact a real estate transaction. First, contamination can significantly reduce the property's value. This happens because appraisals tend to come in lower, and the appeal to future buyers weakens. Next, contamination leads to increased costs. Testing the site, carrying out remediation efforts, and navigating legal reviews can add up very quickly, often catching buyers and sellers off guard. Finally, these environmental concerns influence decision-making. Buyers may decide to renegotiate the price, delay the transaction to conduct further investigations, or even walk away from the deal entirely. Overall, these factors, value, cost, and decision, are crucial to keep in mind when dealing with environmental issues in real estate. They can turn what seems like a straightforward transaction into a complex negotiation. When we talk about flood risk and climate impact, it's important to understand how these factors are influencing real estate transactions today. Properties located in flood zones are facing increasing challenges. For one, insurance costs are going up, and lenders are scrutinizing these properties more carefully. This means obtaining financing can become more difficult or come with stricter terms. Beyond the immediate impact of a storm, exposure to flooding can continue to affect a property for years, influencing its value and marketability over the long term. Another key point is that a property's flood history and its vulnerability to climate risks play a crucial role during due diligence. These factors can affect how a property is priced and may even determine whether a buyer decides to move forward with the purchase. In practical terms, if a visible flood event occurs, it often triggers additional inspections or insurance reassessments. Buyers or lenders might request repair reserves or reduce their purchase offers to account for potential future risks. Overall, understanding these environmental issues is essential because they directly impact the negotiation process and final terms of your real estate transaction. Flood risk is no longer just about the storm. It's about ongoing exposure and how that shapes decisions at every stage of the deal. Now let's talk about some key environmental concerns that can impact real estate transactions. First, asbestos is often found in older insulation, tiles, and pipe wrap. If this material is disturbed during renovation, it can trigger significant cleanup requirements, making it a high risk factor to consider. Next, lead is common in paint used before 1978 and older plumbing systems. Testing for lead, proper disclosure, and remediation steps are crucial because these can affect the timing of a sale and potential liability. Lastly, indoor air quality is another important issue. Mold, volatile organic compounds, or poor ventilation can pose health risks, and sometimes necessitate repairs before a property can be occupied or financed. The risk level here ranges from moderate to high, depending on the specific conditions. Understanding these environmental factors helps you navigate potential challenges in your real estate transactions with greater confidence. A Phase 1 environmental site assessment is a crucial step in any real estate transaction. Essentially, it's a detailed review of records, site conditions, and the property's past uses designed to identify any potential contamination issues. This helps buyers understand the environmental risks they might be inheriting. The assessment acts as due diligence before finalizing the purchase, providing protection in terms of value, timing, and liability. Importantly, it identifies recognized environmental concerns without the need for invasive testing, so it's a non-destructive way to spot possible problems early on. If the Phase 1 ESA flags any issues, it can lead to further investigation, renegotiation of the deal, or even a decision to walk away altogether. This process matters because environmental conditions can significantly impact your transaction, both financially and legally. So understanding these factors upfront is essential. When we talk about the cost of environmental remediation, it's important to understand just how much these expenses can vary. Cleanup costs can range anywhere from $10,000 to over $500,000, and they can escalate quickly. This means what might start as a manageable expense can rapidly turn into a financial challenge that significantly impacts your deal. Several factors drive these costs. First, the severity and spread of the contamination play a crucial role. More extensive or deeper contamination generally requires more work and resources. Then there's the scope of excavation, treatment, testing, and ongoing monitoring that's necessary to ensure the site is safe. The location of the property also matters a lot. Difficult site access or complex disposal logistics can add to the expense. Finally, regulatory requirements are a key consideration. Cleanup standards and mandated timelines imposed by government agencies can influence both the cost and duration of remediation efforts. Being aware of these elements helps you anticipate potential expenses and impacts on your real estate transaction. Understanding this cost dynamic is essential when evaluating properties with environmental concerns. When it comes to seller disclosures, there are several key areas that sellers typically need to reveal. First, known contamination is crucial. This includes any spills, storage tanks, cleanup efforts, and notices from environmental agencies. Next, flooding and drainage issues must be disclosed, like past flooding events, water intrusion, or properties with repetitive loss history. Sellers should also share information about hazardous building materials, such as asbestos, lead-based paint, or mold concerns. Finally, any material reports already available, like environmental tests, permits, violations, or remediation documents, should be provided. On the buyer side, due diligence is equally important. Buyers need to carefully review all disclosure forms for any gaps, vague responses, or inconsistencies. Ordering environmental inspections, such as a Phase 1 environmental site assessment, flood risk reviews, or indoor air quality testing, helps identify potential problems. Checking public records is also essential, including agency files, zoning information, permits, or any enforcement actions. Ultimately, it's vital for buyers to connect these findings back to their contract rights. Whether that means negotiating credits, requesting repairs, requesting extensions, or even having the option to exit the deal. Keep in mind, disclosure duties can vary greatly depending on the state and the type of property. Staying informed on these legal obligations ensures both sellers and buyers navigate environmental issues smoothly during real estate transactions. When it comes to mortgage approval and terms, lenders often require environmental assessments, like a Phase 1 or Phase 2 review, before they agree to fund a loan. If contamination is found, this can slow down the underwriting process, or even lead to the need for cleanup reserves and additional conditions on the loan. Lenders see environmental risks as a potential liability, which can reduce the loan amount you're eligible for or result in higher interest rates and less favorable terms. On the insurance side, properties exposed to flood risks, fire hazards, or poor air quality typically face higher annual premiums. It's also important to know that many insurance policies exclude coverage for pre-existing contamination, mold, or pollution cleanup. Additionally, coverage limits and deductibles may become more restrictive right before closing, which can affect your overall project costs. All these environmental issues can have a significant impact on your financing and insurance options, so it's crucial to understand these risks early in your real estate transaction to avoid surprises down the line. After discovering environmental issues during a property transaction, there are several key steps that typically follow. First, the issue itself is identified, which sets the stage for addressing any problems. Next, we estimate the remediation costs. This is crucial because it impacts the overall value and what needs to be done to bring the property into acceptable condition. Then, the buyer and seller enter negotiations, discussing how to handle these concerns financially and contractually. This negotiation phase is where price adjustments and specific terms are hammered out. Finally, once both parties agree on these terms, an agreement is reached, allowing the transaction to move forward with clarity and mutual understanding. Understanding this process is essential, because environmental concerns can significantly influence the transaction's outcome, affecting everything from price to timelines and responsibilities. Here we have a real-world example that really highlights how environmental issues can affect a real estate transaction. In this case, a former dry cleaner site was being considered for retail redevelopment. However, during Phase 2 environmental testing, chlorinated solvent contamination was found in both the soil and groundwater. This discovery had immediate financial consequences. The buyers reacted by reducing their purchase offer by 18%, reflecting the increased risk and cleanup costs. Lenders also tightened their terms, making financing more challenging. The seller, on the other hand, had to absorb the uncertainty and potential costs related to the cleanup. Additionally, this issue caused a 9-month delay before the transaction could move forward, and an estimated remediation reserve of about $420,000 was required to address the contamination. This case clearly demonstrates how environmental factors can significantly impact the market value, timing, and financial structure of property deals. When it comes to environmental issues in real estate transactions, it's crucial to protect your investment by making environmental risk a formal part of the deal, rather than treating it as an afterthought. Start by ordering the right inspections and environmental reports early in the process. This helps you identify potential problems before moving forward. Next, verify flood exposure, check for prior claims, and understand the local climate vulnerabilities, as these factors can significantly impact the property's value and risk profile. Be diligent in reviewing all disclosures carefully, and make sure to document every known condition to avoid surprises later. It's also important to price in potential costs such as remediation, insurance limits, and potentially longer closing timelines to reflect these risks properly. Lastly, use contingencies in your contract to maintain leverage. This way, you can back out or renegotiate if significant issues arise before you fully commit to the purchase. By addressing environmental concerns up front, you protect yourself and ensure a smoother transaction. Before you finalize any real estate transaction, it's critical to take some deliberate steps to protect yourself and your investment. First, always use a final environmental checklist. This helps you avoid surprises, safeguard the property's value, and maintain your negotiating power. The key is to identify any potential environmental risks early on, before they turn into costly liabilities. To achieve this, start by conducting a Phase 1 environmental site assessment, which gives you a thorough overview of the site's history and identifies possible contamination. Then, hire an experienced environmental inspector to get a detailed evaluation. It's important to review all disclosures carefully to understand any known issues fully. Getting insurance quotes early on can also help you understand what coverage is available and at what cost. Consulting with an environmental lawyer ensures that you have legal guidance on handling disclosures and liabilities. Finally, if any remediation is needed, make sure to finalize those plans before you close. By following these steps, you can navigate environmental concerns with confidence and ensure your real estate transaction goes smoothly.